All right, hi, this is James again. This is part 4, and the title of this part will be the USJ Fallout. And this is part 4, the USJ Fallout of what if Deku was born with a hybrid quirk. So, where we last left off, the USJ attack had just happened, and Izuku later on that day was in a hospital owned by UA, and he's broken down. Kendo's kind of coming, seeing him because she was there because they had to check her out because of what, as always said, had happened. They wanted to make sure she was okay, so she was there giving fill out, and then she also told All Might what had happened. Because of the link that Deku and Katsuki, because of the link that Katsuki and All Might share with Deku, whenever he feels intense emotion, they can kind of sense it themselves. They don't feel it themselves, but they kind of sense something's off with Deku. So if it's a negative emotion, they feel off. If it's a good emotion, they just feel really energized, which is why whenever he does the bond with someone, he's usually, one of the conditions is that he's got to feel good about doing it, or he has to feel that there's no other way to save someone besides doing that bond, because what it does is whatever damage you had, it kind of heals that, or alters your body. Say if he were to bond with, let's say, who's the weak person, let's just say Mineta. In order to get that power that would be unlocked and everything, Mineta would have to train. It would lie dormant until that person's body is ready. But considering All Might was already ready for, his body was pretty much ready for it, it happened. So we'll move on to the fallout of the USJ, and this is a few days. This happens within a few days after the next 5 days, because they want to hold him over for 5 days while he heals and everything, to make sure that he heals correctly and all this stuff, because he literally messed up his arms. Basically, this photo right here where you see all the scars on his hands and everything, that's kind of what his hands look like now. He has some scars on his hands because he basically shattered his hands, killing the Nomu. And that was the most rage that he's ever felt, and it was so strong that Katsuki and even All Might, how far he was away, just felt really, they started to begin to feel kind of mad, but they weren't, they were starting to sense how mad Izuku was mad and everything. So excuse me. So during the first couple of days that Izuku's kind of put himself in an induced coma, Momo has contacted Katsuki and Kendo, asking if Izuku's okay, because she knows Katsuki is his brother, quotation marks, and Kendo was there at the hospital afterwards with him. And she tells them the reason for this, and to Kendo's surprise, Izuku is a majority stockholder of the Yajirozu Corporation, where he owns 2% of the company through the investment that his mom made. Yeah, she bought a good portion, because not only was a good investment, but the Midoriyas and the Yaoyorozus were actually had a close relationship because Hasashi and Momo's father, Mr. Yayorozu, were actually friends in business, and like they worked in the same industry. And when the Yayorozu Corporation took off, Momo's dad approached Hasashi with a job offer because like they had gone to college together. So that's why the Yairozus were at Hasashi's funeral. But secretly, she thinks he is hot. But unbeknownst to her, Hasashi and her father had betrothed them together and would not tell them until they were at 16, until they were 16 years old. The reason she and her family were at Hasashi's funeral, just reading over my notes. Kendo, on the other hand, back in the day, had a crush on him, and seeing, like, because they were in, like, the same karate classes and everything when they were younger, and she thought she kind of crushed on him a little bit because he didn't have, like, a flashy quirk or anything. He seemed a little bit stronger than average, and, like, he seemed to, like, really get martial arts. And when you see Izuku doing, like, katas and practicing his martial arts, you just see, like, you just see him, like, smiling, and it's one of the very few times that he'll actually, like you can see a genuine smile on his face. And he was, like, really into it. So, and then after seeing his power and him literally saving her life, because if Izuku didn't do what he did, Kendo would have died. Like, she would have bled out and, like, suffered a lot of brain damage and everything. So that's why Izuku sustained a lot of damage, because he literally brought her back from the brink of death. And with him being, like, a good person, like, having a good, like, a kind personality and never really wanting to bother people, she kind of, like, that crush is kind of developed a little bit more. Like, it's kind of been rekindled. And Momo just thinks she thinks he's kind of hot, but when they were little kids, and it's not something that they really remember, even Konski, like, he somewhat remembers, like, a little girl with black hair, and so does Izuku, and, like, Izuku's like, wait, you're the girl that was at my dad's funeral, and that's literally the earliest memory that they really recognize her from. But when they were babies, one moment. Sorry about that. I had a phone call on the landline. Where were we? Sorry, did not mean to. Oh, we were getting to. I just went over Kendo and how Kendo and Momo kind of think Izuku's a little cute. So on the fourth day that Izuku's, like, been basically comatose, which is self-induced, Kendo and Momo run into each other at the hospital, a UA facility, going to check on Izuku. They start talking and realize the other likes the guy that they like, and, like, they're kind of, like, not really going to, like, push the envelope, because, like, they're at, like, the crush stage right now. Like, they like him, but, like, they're not going to push it. They're not going to push the thing. So Kendo and Momo are sitting on the sides of his bed, like late into the evening. They end up falling asleep, and they have their heads on his bed, like next to his hands, and they've like kind of like grabbed his hand. And so we cut to the fifth day, in the morning. And this isn't like super early in the morning. This is like a little bit later in the morning. Katsuki comes in to the room, to the scene of Izuku just sit there knocked out, and then he has two girls like with their heads on his bed, with their hand, with like basically like with their heads like next to his hands and stuff, And Katsuki starts laughing, like kind of chuckling and everything, which wakes up Izuku. He's like, what are you laughing at, Kachan? And Izuku kind of says this, like, kind of groggily. And Katsuki says, look at your hands, in a whispered tone. So, like, look at your hands. And so Izuku looks down, and he goes, whoa, what's going on here? Because he's a little freaked out, which wakes up the two. Sorry, did not mean to disturb you, both say. Kasi then says, it seems like you two have a thing for my brother Izuo, and it seems reciprocated. The whole emotional link and everything, like strong emotions, they can kind of sense that kind of stuff, like strong emotions. And at this, all three of them kind of blush. And then a few seconds after Katsuki has said this, you hear, I won't let you take my Bubby away, as Katsuri comes running in, jumping and landing on Izuku's chest, which kind of freaks out like Kendo and Momo, because they don't remember from when they were kids. The last time Momo saw Izuku was when they were 7. So right around the time that his mom passed. And last time Kendo saw Izuku was when they were 6. So like they don't, and Izuku and Katsuki never really talked about their sister in front of them, so they didn't really know they have a little sister. So they explain like who the little girl is, because like both Momo and Kendo are like, wait, what? Who's this little kid? And then they look at her, and then they look at Katsuki, and they're like, wait, you guys have a little sister? And so that whole conversation happens, and Katsuri's kind of crying. She's like, Bubby, are you okay? Like, because this is the first time she sees him, and she kind of sees the scars on his hands and everything. And Izuku looks worse for wear. Like, he really took a beating from himself. Like, he pretty much destroyed his body, and it took a while for him to heal from it. And the reason why he was in a self-induced coma is because every couple of hours, every 6 to 7 hours, recovery girl would come and like kind of heal him a little bit to like kind of help his own quirk a little bit along. So it took a few days for him to get completely healed up from like all the injuries that he had. So Kitsuri is like kind of crying while like holding Izuku, and like Izuku's just kind of consoling it. And at this point, like Momo and Kendo are kind of looking at Izuku, how he's interacting with a small child, and they're like, whoa, he's kind of a catch. Like, he's strong, he's a nice person, he's friendly, and he's good with kids. So this just increases the amount of like them liking Izuku. So we cut to later that afternoon, and like the whole time Kazuri like won't leave Izuku's side because that it's her big brother and she knew he got hurt and everything, and this is the first time she's seen him in like almost a week. And so it's just a little family thing. And a few hours later, after Katsuki and Katsuri like got to the hospital, Mitsuki and Manzura arrived because this is the day that he was getting discharged, and the recovery girl was going like had to go over them with like the treatments and stuff because he's still not 100% healed, but he's at least healed enough that they feel comfortable that he won't re-injure himself by just basically moving around normally. And they tell him that until he's completely healed, don't use like your secondary abilities on your quirks because it could cause irrevocable damage to your skin and bones and muscles. Like you've already done that to your hands. And he kind of looks at his hands and he's like, he sees all the scars and stuff, and he's like, yeah, but. And then they go over what had actually happened and discuss with Izuku about really getting him back into therapy because Izuku doesn't really quite remember what happened. All he really remembers is just seeing Kendo basically bleeding out and then basically going over to try to kind of heal her to prevent her from dying, and then like he kind of blacked out after that. So they want to get him back into therapy and everything. So over the next couple of days, Izuku's home and he's been kind of keeping to himself, kind of moping around and everything. And Katsuki, like on the last day before they're supposed to get back to school, he's like Katsuki's supposed to get back to school because Izuku's given a 2-week break, and Katsuki would bring him like all the classwork and stuff because he still is kind of like fatigued a big deal because basically something that would normally take like years to recuperate from, he's through a combination of his quirk and recovery girl's quirk, they've been able to do it in a week. So like he's really lost a lot of stamina. Like he's kind of sickly looking, like he's a little bit pale and everything. And this is the first time since when he was a small kid that he's actually been kind of sickly looking. And it does concern Mitsuki and Matsura and Katsuki and Kazuri. Like, they all do kind of worry about him. More so Katsuri because, like, she's never really seen Izuku sick or, like, hurt. Like, he's always just been, like, Izuku and Katsuki are her heroes because like they're really strong. Like they've always bounced back really well against like anything that's been thrown at them, and this is something that's really kind of upsets Katsuri. So Izuku like has like calmed her down and explained to her that to the best that he can with Mitsuki and Mazura that he's fine. It's just this is like part of his quirk. Every once in a while he gets sick, and when he gets sick it's a big thing because of how his quirk works. So they say that it'll pass in a few days, which it does, and it takes about a week and a half for like Izuku to recover to the point where he can go back to school. So on that Wednesday, after the class is resumed, he goes back in for a follow-up with Recovery Girl. And on the way out, he's stopped by Kirishima, and Kirishima's like, "Yo, Meg, like it's good to see you. Or when are you supposed to be coming back to class?" He's like, "Well, I came for a checkup, and they tell me that I shouldn't resume classes until next week." I told him, I was like, "But I want to go back," and they're like, "No," and so like they basically told me like you can come back Friday like morning, and like as soon as like the building opens up and we can check you out, and if things good then you can go to class. So at the earliest I'll be back in class on Friday. At the latest Monday morning I'll be here. And during like this week, Kotsky has been bringing their classwork with them, and he's informed him about the UA festival and everything. And Izuku's kind of like bummed out that Kotsky is getting like a week and 2 week, like he's like, "Man, you've already gotten like a week head start on, like this is like," he's in the back of his head, he's like, "It's kind of unfair, like he can work out and I can't, like because like Deku's thing is music and working out and practicing karate, like those are his things, and also studying quirk development and different way, like he likes sitting in his room, like kind of trying to figure out like different ways to use his quirks." So then we cut to the Monday morning, and when he comes into class, everyone is just looking at him because he's thinner than what he was, and he still has a slight discoloration in his skin, but it's pretty much returned to like its normal pigmentation. And for some reason now his eyes are glowing green. So in future episodes, as you can see, this art is done by the person right here, like right here. Look them up. They always do good artwork. I've seen this artist on like has done it for like others. So like I've seen this artist is stuff for a while. Like I've been seeing it for like over a year now. So they do good work. I suggest you look them up. So anytime that like they're asking Deku like what they're asking him, like what's up with your eyes and everything, he's like, "Well, the doctors can't really figure out what's going on with that, and like I honestly don't know what's going on." And we're coming up on 24 minutes, so I am trying to keep this between 20 and 30 minutes, so I'll just go over a few things. I guess I can go over what exactly is going on with his eyes, but effectively we'll be saving the training arc between the USJ and the sports festival. And I plan on doing the sports festival a little bit different from the USJ. It's not going to be like a one episode thing, because quite a lot of big changes will be happening, like with the sports festival, because this is where the story really starts turning more away from the original. So, what's going on with the Izuku's eyes, you might ask? Like, why are they just all of a sudden glowing green? Well, just like All Might, like how his eyes kind of glow like a color when he's in his buff form, it's an effect of All for One. Or, I mean, One for All. Like, once you're able to access, like, 100% of One for All, like, it kind of alters, like, your eyes a little bit. It makes them brighter, like, almost to, like, where they're kind of glowing. And because of Izuku's other quirks and everything, they actually are luminescent. Like, they aren't, like, reflecting. Like All Might's eyes, which reflects the light from the sun, he's actually, like, his eyes are actually luminescent. They do produce, like, a little bit of light on themselves. And this little tidbit is a tie-in to another development with his quirk. So, with that being said, I look forward to continuing the series. I want to appreciate the two people in part 2. Like, I wanted to mention, like, this is not, like, I was already had, like, 2 ships planned out for Deku. Like, I got this idea from another YouTuber in the series. I will look them up and then add it in a little bit section, and then I'll also link his channel in the bottom where I kind of got this idea of, many of you probably may know, it's a hero for 2, and he's been doing like a couple of series that I really like, and I was thinking, I was like, it's kind of like a harem, but not really. And I've always thought and this is something I've always thought, if Katsuki Bakugo wasn't such a freaking dick, like in the anime, like him and Uraraka would actually make a decent couple, and if their quirks fused, it would create a pretty powerful quirk. And I've always thought that with Izuku's personality and Suyu's personality, they would actually make a good couple. But we don't know what Horikoshi's going to be doing with, like, if he's going to be doing a ship or, like, romances in the series and everything. We know Miss Joke kind of likes Aizawa, but outside of that, we don't really know, besides the already established, like, married couples and stuff. With the UA students, like, he hasn't really explicitly said it yet. Like, it's been heavily implied throughout the comics and everything, so with that, Wiedersehen, and hope to see you guys in the next video. And like I said, the moment I get 30 subscribers, or tomorrow afternoon, I'll release this. But if I get 30 subscribers, I will be posting the video. Have a nice day. Enjoy the year. Hi, this is the YouTuber that I'm speaking about. Please come subscribe to him if you haven't. He's a really good YouTuber. His storytelling is pretty decent. And this is where I get the idea of like doing 2 ships with Deku. Like, it's kind of like a harem, but not really. Like, what I like about it, one thing I didn't like about his thing is, like, him basically kind of, like, Katsuki using Uraraka in this series. But I figure with the changes that I've done to his personality and everything, it kind of makes sense. Like, it's always, like, been one of my things. Like, most people are like, oh no, Uraraka and Katsuki are a bad ship. In my opinion, if Katsuki wasn't like the kind of dick that he is, I think Uraraka and him would make a interesting couple. So that's something that I wanted to explore with mine. What if? And I figured with Izuku like being really big into martial arts and learning about like different ways to use his quirk, and Kendo and Yajirozu being into like hand-to-hand combat, because the nature of their quirks and everything, Izuku would make a good fit to either one. And I was kind of leaning more towards Kendo, but then I had two people in the comment sections like I wasn't even suggesting that there would be a ship. I was just setting up like certain plot points just in case if I were to do one, I could, and it would kind of make sense why the ship would happen. Because in my what ifs, Izuku doesn't really he hasn't really interacted with Uraka like he has in the past, like, because Katsuki like on the first day he didn't interact with her, and then after the entrance exam, Katsuki, during that week after when they were waiting on their letters, Katsuki kind of expressed to Deku that he thought the girl was kind of cute. So Izuku, being a good brother slash cousin slash best friend that he is, his nature, he was like, yeah, she's kind of cute, but like he's kind of stepped back from it, just being the the easiest way to explain it is some of the female slash ex others might get upset with me saying this, but basically like the bro crow, like bros before blank, and he's kind of like, okay, Katsuki's interested in her, so I'm going to like step back, and this is one of those types of strong emotions that they kind of sim back and forth with each other. Like, they have a minor type of telepathy between the two. It's, the best way to explain it is the phenomenon between twins where they can kind of feel like the other one's emotions. Basically, they have like a sort of an empathic link towards each other, but it's only for like really strong emotions or something that's very concise. So with that being said, if you haven't already subscribed to this YouTuber, please do. He's an amazing YouTuber. He's one of the people that really, like, watching a few of his videos really made me want to like actually get into doing what ifs, along with Kirsho and Moscow X and a few others. So again, if you haven't subscribed to these people, please do. But Ryan Trunky, he doesn't put out videos as much as other what ifers, but all the ones that I've actually watched and he does a decent storytelling job at it. Same thing with Kirsho, especially like Kirsho's Eri situation. Like, I give him props because I did get the idea of giving like Izuku a little sister. Like, I kind of suggested to him, and like I hope he does do it. But making Eri and Midoriya like actual siblings, having the Midoriyas actually formally adopt her because they pretty much have the same quirk. So yeah. With that being said, I'm gonna go.